Well, there was a wild finish to the Astros-Angels game last night, and the Halos lost, but not because of Shohei Ohtani. Two-way superstar went yard for his major league leading 34th homer of the season. His blast to center off of Phil Maton with one out in the ninth gave the Halos some hope until Kyle Tucker ended all hope with a web gem out in right field. Halos dropping their 7th straight series at home to defending World Series champs, and with each loss mounting, it'll be interesting to see what they do, especially when it comes to their superstar, Shohei Ohtani. Let's welcome in our front office insider, Jim Bowden, to talk about the Angels, and we'll get to the Yankees and their superstar in just a second. But Jim, you've got some reporting that you can share with us here at CBS Sports HQ when it comes to the Yankees. What's the level of interest in Shohei Ohtani, and what were your takeaways from a conversation with the powers that be out in the Bronx?
Yeah, I talked to Brian Cashman, the general manager of the Yankees, yesterday, and number one, he doesn't even know if the Angels are going to trade Ohtani. Their position is that the Angels clearly want to try to hold on to him. If they can stay in a race, they want to try to make the playoffs with him and then try to sign him as a free agent. But I think we all know they've never been above 500 with Ohtani since they signed him, and it's unlikely this team's going to make the playoffs. He's going to be a free agent, and to just get draft pick compensation would be ridiculous. So I think over the next 15 days, there is a good possibility he does get actually traded, which, as unpopular as it's going to be, it is the right baseball and business decision for the Angels. Now, to answer your question in terms of the Yankees, it doesn't sound like they're going to be players, and I'm going to tell you why. Number one, you'd have to empty your farm system to acquire them. That means outfielders Jason Dominguez and Spencer Jones, probably a shortstop like Oswaldo Peraza, probably a major league starting pitcher like Clark Schmidt, and more pieces, to be honest. I don't think they want to unlock that for 2 months, unless they thought they could sign him long term. But all indications are that Shohei Ohtani, when he gets to free agents, prefers the West Coast. So we're talking Dodgers, Angels, Padres, Giants, Mariners seem to be kind of the clubs in the mix where he would desire to play. And so I think for the Yankees to unload the farm system for 2 months doesn't make a lot of sense to GM Brian Cashman. So what Brian Cashman told me yesterday is that he'd like to add another starting pitcher, and he'd like to upgrade left field with a two-way player, someone that could do an impact, a bat that can be a difference maker. So it seems to me that Ohtani really isn't in their plans if they trade him, but keep in mind this, Tommy Tran, it is the Yankees, and so never count them out of anything.
Never count them out, but for this segment, we are, because you said so. But if we talked about preferences, of course, Shohei Ohtani would like to stay on the West Coast. But, Jim, what are you hearing about teams that could be in the mix there for Shohei Ohtani 2 weeks out?
Well, this is the interesting part, because normally you would think, oh, all the big markets, right? But that's not the case, because CAA, who represents Ohtani, making it pretty clear that he's not going to do a deal with the team that trades for him, right? He's going to get to free agency to find out what his true value is, which we all think will be somewhere between $500 and $600 million. So it's interesting when you look at the fits and you talk to teams throughout baseball, there's only really 4 teams that really fit for a trade at the trade deadline for him. So you start with the Tampa Bay Rays. I talked to Eric Neander, the president of baseball operations, yesterday. He said they have the resources to acquire a player like Ohtani, who you'd have to pay $13 million, and they have such a deep farm system they could afford to trade the 4 or 5 guys it's going to take to get him. He also told us that his owner, Stuart Sternberg, is supporting them both financially and resourcefully because they want to win a world championship. They're happy that they lead baseball in wins per dollar spent, but you know what? They want that ring. They want that White House visit. They want that trophy. So they're in it. The Texas Rangers, another team where there is a big desire for the owner, the GM Chris Young, and the manager Bruce Bochy to win this thing. They feel like if they trade for Shohei Ohtani, that they'll be able to do it. The Los Angeles Dodgers, they've got enough in the farm system to make this deal happen, and they feel like if they can trade for him, they certainly have the best chance of keeping him and re-signing him because this is going to be a perennial winner. It's the West Coast, and it fits for Ohtani. And finally, team number 4 is the Seattle Mariners. Now, remember, Ohtani has spent 2 off seasons living in Seattle, and he loves it up there. And they've got an up-and-coming team, and they're loaded with young starting pitchers, and they could afford to trade 2 of them in a big package to get Ohtani. So as much as we like to think, oh, it's the New York teams and Philadelphia and all these big market teams, those are really the only four teams that match in a possible trade over the next 15 days with the Angels. So stay tuned. It could get fascinating 2 weeks from now.
No doubt, Jim. We're out of time, but I have to follow up because you bring up the Rays, and you mentioned they have what it takes to get them this year, but there's no way that they would take $500 to $600 million to sign them long term, is there?
No, they're not going to.
Okay.
The team that trades him is going to have no guarantees that they're going to keep him more than a 2 or 3 month rental. That's it. So any team that trades for him, don't think you're going to get to keep him because he's going to go to the open market, and it's going to be a bidding war, and it's going to be fascinating.
I was just making sure because I looked up on Forbes.com, and the Rays are worth $1.25 billion, and Ohtani's going to be worth about half of that when it's all said and done.
Nope.
All right.
They're only interested 3 months.
They're all
Try
in
to win
for
a World
now.
Series this year.
You got it. Jim Bowden with the very latest on Shohei Ohtani. Jim, certainly appreciate it. Taking a look at tonight's notable Major League Baseball games. Dodgers even money at the O. Sheehan and Rodriguez. Giants road favorites in Cincinnati. And again, we were talking about that Yankees-Angels game. Severino and Canning, 9:38 Eastern with a run total of 9.